Buongiorno. Mark my words, Mel. They'll leave by Christmas.
Even now, less than a score of years after the World War,
hostilities exist. There is no blinking at the fact.
we shall never surrender!
This is the Militaria Podcast, brought to you by your friends at Queen City Militaria, Weimar Militaria, and SMG War Relics.
Can we just talk about the for freedom, work, and bread, fight for the KPD? That slogan, I mean, nothing says freedom like a gulag, you know what I mean? But no, this propaganda that's on this building
different
is
time.
mind-blowing. Yeah,
Right.
Just a mind-blowing picture. That's really cool. Thank you for showing that. Really,
That is really neat.
And now that I look close enough, I'd say it's Hamburg.
yeah, it's
Hamburg
Hamburg.
bleeds red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that banner on the right-hand side literally says Agitprop Troop. That is so cool. I've never seen any of these banners like in person or at a show or anything, but like, man, I can't even imagine the rarity.
They're extremely rare, and I don't own it, but I have one to show that's in my buddy's collection. We'll get to it. They're really neat pieces. So we're going to look at the early years of the KPD real fast. It was founded on December 30th, 1918 by members of the Spartacus League. Key early members were Rosa Luxemburg, who can be seen down here, Karl Liebknecht up here, Ernst Mayr, Paul Levi, and Wilhelm Pieck. And Wilhelm Pieck actually would go on to survive the war and was active in East Germany. The party was initially committed strongly to a revolution in Germany, and they led an uprising in Berlin in January 1919, where Karl Liebknecht and Rosa Luxemburg were brutally murdered by members of the Freikorps. At the very beginning of it, Luxemburg and Liebknecht were not in favor of it because they thought it was too soon and the movement wasn't strong enough to launch it. And then they eventually threw in their support for it. And it quickly turned around once the SPD called in the Freikorps. And when the Freikorps came in, they both expected to just be arrested. And instead, they were beaten to death. I think Luxemburg was shot in the head and her body was dumped into the river and found I think it was a week later. The Freikorps men that did this were never prosecuted.
This would explain the bad blood between the KPD and the SPD, I assume. And
Yes.
am I wrong for thinking that like it's actually a little surprising from an ideological standpoint that the SPD would ask the Freikorps to come in and break this up?
You're extremely correct. And this is where, like you said, this is where
right.
the division between the two immediately started, was because the KPD had differences with the SPD, but they thought they could work together on some sort of, either a Soviet style system in Germany or leading some sort of revolution rather than trying to reform the system, which is what the SPD under Friedrich Ebert, who was at this time the chancellor of Germany. He would later become president. But he took a stance of, we've got something going already with democracy. I think we can sort of take the system that was left over from the fall of the Kaiser, reform it, and make this into a proper democracy, and we can work towards labor rights and blah, blah, blah. And the KPD wanted to just basically spark a revolution and have a Leninist-style regime. The party had at its peak about 350 to 400,000 members by 1920 after a large joint conference with the USPD. And they merged with the KPD at this time to create the Unified Communist Party of Germany, or the VKPD, in December of 1920. So immediately there was a large influx of members because of the USPD joining, which the USPD was different from the SPD because it was more of a radical wing that split off during the war because they said enough. We're done supporting the war. We want, peace. Whereas the SPD continued to support the war effort. The USPD participated in the early elections. They got around 13%. The KPD originally abstained from Reichstag elections, but they still got 3% of the vote. The KPD's new goal of gaining power changed around 1924 toward heavily contesting elections, initially working with other socialist-minded parties to advance social struggles and combat right-wing militias. This all came about after the the main thing that people talk about in 1923, obviously, is the hyperinflation and the downturn that was in Germany. This led to, obviously, the putsch that happened in Munich. But at the same time, there was an uprising in the Ruhr Valley led by communists. And then also up in Hamburg, there was a communist uprising. So we talk about the putsch that Hitler did a lot of the time, but both of those fly under the radar. And those both were quite crucial to sort of molding the KPD's stances on things. So it is interesting, like I said, that we talk all the time about the putsch, but then meanwhile, there was these other two insurrections going on in Germany by the KPD. So
it's almost like a history is written by the winners type story. Like obviously the Nazis went on to lose, but in this scenario, they took power. So of course that takes precedent when we talk about the historic putsches that did occur. But that's really interesting. That's also an awesome picture down there on
the May Day for the dictator of the proletariat. That's very cool.
Yeah, so that was KPD headquarters in Berlin. This whole neighborhood that this was in was the part of the Red District in Berlin.
That was where your grandpa got in the bar fight.
Well, that would be in Munich.
Oh man,
this is Berlin.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Follow the bouncing ball, Josh.
Oh, I'm doing my best.
Obviously, at this time, they had their differences with the SPD, but they could still try and work with the SPD to sort of bring about these different, movements and things like that. However, it kept blowing up. In 1923, there was a democratically elected government in Saxony. There was a coalition between the KPD and the SPD. And once again, the Reichswehr were sent in and they broke up the coalition. That didn't end up going well. So they continued to try and work together. They tried, but they kept running into issues. By 1925, though, Ernst Thälmann, who can be seen right here, had secured the leadership of the party, and the party's policies were shaped directly by Stalin and the Politburo in Moscow. Stalin liked to meddle in other people's affairs quite often, and Ernst Thälmann had a lot of issues in the party. He actually was removed from his seat at one point in the party because of some money laundering scandal where someone he knew quite well was actively stealing funds from the party. And so he had to resign, but then by, Stalin's orders and pushing the members of the party around, Thälmann was reinstated and eventually put in the leadership role. The party saw large purges of members who dissented to this shift, and by 1928, the party was completely controlled by the Stalinist wing. Because before that, there was considered a left and right wing of the KPD, and it was more of just, what stance we're going to take. We're going to take more of a Stalinist stance, or we're going to go more of kind of what Luxembourg and Liebknecht kind of wanted, which was a little more not as hardline as, we know Stalinist communism to be.
Right.
So they kind of blew up, and they were either kicked out of the party or they left. But the party at this time had lost a large part of its membership due to these purges and the economic turnaround of Weimar Germany in the mid-1920s. Membership as of 1927 was 130,000. So you can see quite the decrease.
Wow. Down from 400,000?
Yes. So, and also the other thing is the majority of people that were party members were low-income earners. So, I should say the majority of people that would vote for the KPD were low-income workers, mainly in manual labor jobs or industrial jobs. So oftentimes they would just vote, but they wouldn't become active party members because they already were having to pay into their unions, which were also in a way tied to either the KPD or SPD. So they politically saw the need to vote, and they economically saw the need to pay into the unions, but not always into the KPD per se.
Broke leftists, huh? Who would have thought? It's not something you see these days.
So the party was, however, still the largest communist party outside of the Soviet Union. And we're saying by like a massive, margin, because in Germany, they consistently hold between, 11 and 18% each election that came around. Certain states, they were where they would crush. Anywhere that was industrial, any major cities, they did very well.
It's crazy with the popularity that you're talking about, that again, we just don't see quite as much of the relics from the party available on the market.
No, and you honestly don't. You have to dig to find any of this stuff, which it's super hard. But we're going to start looking at a couple artifacts. So this is the very earliest type of membership book for the KPD. This is from 1919 to 1920. This is for member number 1 in Rudolstadt. This is available on eBay now if anyone wants to go buy it. The guy wants crazy money for it.
What's crazy money?
I think he wants 1,000 euros for it. This sold in auction. I missed the auction. It sold for 470 euros. So he's turning around trying to get 1,000.
Damn military dealers! I swear to God.
But in all fairness, I thought 500 was more of a realistic price for something.
I thought I said it off my head.
Not that I've been following the market on these, but just
right. My friend who collects these in Germany also, when it sold at auction, was like, "Wow, that's crazy," because these pop up in Germany. That's the honey hole. You're not going to find this stuff in the States. Like they
didn't bring this shit back.
No, this stuff doesn't exist here. So anything that we're going to show of mine is from Germany. Besides a couple things, I got lucky here in Florida with a collection.
Connor, I went back just out of curiosity to see if you bought anything from me, and back in 2023, you did buy a tinny from me.
Connor, I only have 3 orders from you, bud. We need to step it up a notch.
Well,
I'm kidding.
You know, I was like, well, I haven't really bought from either of you in a while.
I'm like, who is this guy? Did he
no, I'm totally kidding.
Yeah. Actually, the last thing I bought from you was a tricolor pennant, Dante, at shows 24, maybe, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, that was the last thing that I remember buying from you. And then, Billy, I bought that one really cool SA tinny. I don't want to get too off topic, but anyways, that cool flute tag tinny.
Flute tag those are awesome.
Yeah,
I used to collect them.
I
used to collect them, and I used to pay out the nose for them, and I went to sell them because I thought they would be valuable, and I got next to nothing for them because not everyone appreciates a flute tag.
No, and
unlike us gentlemen, who do
flute tag. I like myself some flute tag myself, man.
It's a good day.
Yeah, man, I love Red Bull.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
This item, which I have here, we talked about earlier when they united the VKPD. So this came from a friend of the show, Ben Mac Jackson. He had it at the Mac show in 2024. I was walking around the show with another friend of the show, Kyle Kellner. And
so many friends, man. This is
right.
Awesome.
So we just walked up to his table and they were chit-chatting. He's like, "Oh, what do you got? That's cool." And Ben's like, "Oh, I got this." He like dug it out from the case he had. He's like, "This is really cool. It's a German communist membership card." Kyle turned around, looked at me. He's like, "Yeah, I think this is yours." And then we worked out a deal and I bought it. And this is outside of the one that's in my friend's collection, the only other one that is known in a collection. Because as the VKPD was only named the VKPD for 16 months. And then they dropped the V, which the V is for United Communist Party of Germany. So they just switched back to the Communist Party of Germany.
That member stick pin, was that only used for
that is open. There's debate on that.
What's it marked on the back?
Nothing. It's blank. Most KPD wrote front.
Deschler. It's marked Deschler.
Who knows?
Most of them are unmarked. For the most part, there are some KPD membership badges that are marked. I don't own one.
Beautiful enamel. I mean,
it is.
Yeah, I would love to have
Starburst. That's cool.
Yeah, for sale. That's cool.
So going back to your question, Dante, it's open to discussion on whether it is or not. There's a book that was published, a German book, and my friend, when I was going to buy it, said, he's like, "I think that may be VKPD related. Let me go get my book." He said, "Yep, it's VKPD." He showed me the book where it was. I talked to someone else and they said, maybe not. So it's published that it is. So I'm going to say that it's VKPD. I mean,
it's pretty generic in terms of its style. So it could be used, I guess.
Right. The difference is this ring around it. Normally they're just cut out, which we'll see a couple of those. But normally when they're cut out, they're considered KPD. This author said that if they have a back like this, and it's just a circular badge, then it's actually VKPD. But it's open to interpretation and discussion.
Okay.
Now, there may be a membership card in between. My friend or me don't have pictures if there was one. So that's why I say this is the third or fourth pattern. But this is a really nice one. I am assuming that it's been cut like this, kind of like with a passport. When it goes out of date, or a driver's license, I should say. They cut a corner off the driver's license. You can keep the old driver's license.
Right.
So I'm assuming this was cut when the guy paid up on all his dues, and he got a book after this, probably. But the cards are extremely rare. The assumption is because, unlike the NSDAP, where early on it was the first 2 years you got a card, and once you were good on your membership dues, paying on the card, you got a book. The KPD didn't do that. The KPD traditionally gave out membership books, which would be over a 5-year period. This was only for 1 year. So the assumption is that they did these in 1929 and 1930 because of a large influx of party members. It's for the Wasserkant, which would be the Hamburg area. And this is for a member from Altona, which I talked about earlier, which was a very red district of Hamburg. This was part of that Florida collection I bought. This came out of Germany. I have a couple, but this one's super special to me because it's for Bezirk Südbayern, so district Southern Bavaria. And if you can read here, it's for Berchtesgaden, Salzburg, which is not really known as a red part of the country. I mean, Hitler had his Berghof there. So that
is it dated 21 or 31?
31. So you can see here, this is him paying all the way nice and clean through 1932. He went and paid his dues. I don't have the picture of 33, but it cuts off right in the beginning of March when they were banned. And then here are some other additional stamps for the Bezirk Parteitag of 1932. This is an Anti-Fascista Aktion. Several of them stamped, so Antifa. And then this one is just another miscellaneous stamp, but really neat. And we're going to touch on them in a second here too, Antifa. So by 1928, the party had started to treat its number one rival as the SPD and started to refer to them as social fascists. This was because the SPD leadership showing a consistently hostile position to many communists and their gatherings. May Day 1929 was a major conflict between the two parties after the Prussian interior minister threatened to ban the party if they went ahead with their planned gathering for May Day. There was internal discussions about what to do, but they saw that it would be weak to take a step back and not actually go ahead with the event. So they did, and all hell broke loose. Some 33 civilians were killed by police, and 200 others were injured on Blutmai, as it became known. This is actually a picture taken at the time. You could see police with their truncheons beating the crap out of some Rotfront members here.
Oh, that's just police, Shakos, I'm looking at?
Yes, they are. Berlin police.
Okay.
So shortly around this time, probably when this was taken, the police tried to disperse people, and then they eventually opened fire. The interesting thing is not one of the 33 people killed were members of the KPD or Rotfront. A lot of them were simple union workers or even members of the SPD that were shot, that were also participating in this as a sign of protest. There was a massive, at the time, cover-up by the local police to try and downplay the situation. It actually made kind of world news, and there actually was a lot of consensus on it that it was a bad look across the different newspapers at the time. With the depression setting in, the political situation also worsened, which led to a rise in the popularity in the party. Membership started to bloom again. By 1931, it had gone up to 200,000 from 130,000 in 1927. Its vote share peaked in November of 1932 at 16.9%, up from 10.6 in 1928, making it the third largest party in the German Reichstag. Now, obviously, the party was banned after the Reichstag fire decree in March of 1933, when they were blamed for it. It's still kind of a discussion to this day whether or not they actually played a part in it, or if it was set by SA members, and then they brought in Mr. van der Loben, who was a Dutch communist, and pinned it on him.
From what I remember, he was kind of a nutcase.
Mm-hmm. I think he's schizophrenic.
He made it like, I mean, okay, it might be insensitive for me to call him a nutcase. I didn't remember exactly what condition he had, but he made a good fall guy, right? Like that's pretty much what the conspiracy or what the theory is.
Yes. From all the records that are stated, he did at least part of the fire. They believe that that the SA men at a minimum got kind of like cheered him on, like, yeah, you can do this. And then they sort of put him somewhere, and then just as like the fire and the police showed up, they just sort of like had him be still in the building, and then they're like, oh look. And so they blamed it all on him. But for the whole thing to go up like it did, it's kind of hard to believe it was just one person.
Fucking peer pressure, man.
Yeah. Now here's a couple of items that I own. This is a kick-ass, and thanks to my friend Giannis, who I've been talking about extensively. This is the first time I mentioned him by name. He helped me to get this poster. So this is a very large meeting poster for, I believe, Saturday, the 21st of April, 1932, for a Bavarian Landtag meeting, so state election meeting. It's super, super rare these are to have survived. So this would have probably just been up on a wall somewhere. And they wrote it in hardly legible ink. But I guess, these would have been mass produced, and then they just would have written on them when they were having party meetings. And interesting enough, the Fritz Schapper, which is the speaker, and the Unterfranken, I'm assuming this was used for a different campaign, because these were both separately applied onto the poster. So these came from separate sheets that were the same color. Because of my Bavarian family connection to the KPD, this was a piece that I asked my friend, I'm like, do you know anyone that has something? And he reached out to a buddy of his, and he's like, well, he has this poster he'd sell. So I immediately was like, okay, well, I got to get it. So
I have to ask, from the collector point of view here, what does something like that go for? What's the monetary value on a piece like that?
I can tell you, I think I paid 350 euros for that. I think
that
is
seems
what
reasonable for what it is, honestly.
And it's a large poster too. So I had it professionally. Well, I bought a frame, and I got the museum glass, so it won't fade or anything. But that's one of my favorite pieces of my collection. And then here are two Hamburg leaflets. This one includes a speech by Ernst Thälmann. And again, you can see on here where they refer to it as the Wasserkant. And then there's Hermann Schubert was also speaking there. He was the Bezirksleiter, or district leader.
Was Hamburg like a red city in nature? I mean, during the Weimar era, was it a hotbed? Or we've mentioned Hamburg several times.
Yes, it was extremely red because of the port there. So many of the port workers were communists through and through. Actually, the membership card I showed earlier from Hamburg, he was a port worker.
The port makes sense. Thank you. All that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for answering my question.
No problem. And then this is another small leaflet talking about the Nazis going in and killing local workers, and then to join the Red movement. So
very interesting to see the specifically anti-Nazi party leaflet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a neat one. I got that one in a little frame too in my room. And again, as I said earlier, this is a very special piece. Thank you to my friend Giannis for allowing me to show this to you guys. This is an original KPD standard for Ortsgruppe Marn in northern Germany, north of Hamburg. And this is actually a picture I own, part of the picture, and you can see the flag itself right here.
That's amazing, dude.
So we're working on a trade to get this in his hands because it needs to be there. But he worked years to buy this from the family that had it. I don't remember the exact background story, and they had it. He knows better. But this is an extremely unique piece. The work on it's amazing. It's a beautiful item. And it's one of his favorite pieces, and I can't blame him. It's amazing.
Super ornate, the details on that, and also like kind of unique in the design with the mirrored hammer and sickle on each side. I don't
Yeah,
usually see the hammer and sickle be displayed backwards like that, but when they bookend the design with it, I mean, it creates a really interesting visual.
it's super cool. And then yeah, like because there was only one other picture known that my friend had, and it wasn't the best. He pulled it off the internet of the flag itself at an event. So it's really neat to actually that I had bought this photo. It came in a group from Weitza. He had it on his website, and I bought it at one point. So we're gonna work out something that'll be in his hands soon, so he can have it with the flag. And then we're gonna touch briefly on Antifa or Antifascista Aktion. These are a couple of documents I have. This is a small little leaflet that I have. So neither mit der SA, never with the SA, der, which is hard to see here, but it says der System Armee. So they took SA and they turned it into System Armee, which in this Antifascista Agitations brief, in there they start talking about that we're going to call the SA the System Army, because they saw what von Papen was doing at the time. And, they started saying, well, we can probably propagandize and, use different wording to try and make the SA look stupid or something like that. So
look more menacing than they already are.
I didn't realize that Antifa,
the logo,
logo went back that far.
Yeah, I was looking at that too. Yeah, we thought the same thing.
I thought it was a new thing, and I didn't realize it was shit. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was founded in Germany. So it was founded in the Prussian Landtag in May of 1932. There was a brawl because there was a KPD speaker and he was speaking, and a couple of NSDAP members rushed the podium and started beating him up. And then the other KPD members came in, and then it was a full-on brawl. And from that moment on, they decided to form Antifa as a mass socialist movement. They went from 32 to 33, obviously, when the party was banned. They were banned too. They did not have membership, though, for Antifa. I was just
going to ask if you had to be a member of the Communist Party to be.
There was no membership. There was badges, which are here. These are ones in my collection. Neat screwback one here. And then there's a couple of, these are both pinbacks. Presumably, these would have been made by the same maker. This one's actually maker marked on it. By Wilhelm Helding out of Leipzig. But these are have become pretty dang rare. I don't see these pop up as much on my sources where I'm normally trying to get stuff. But I got all of these out of Germany over the last couple of years. This one actually came from a historian. A couple of my items came from a historian, actually. I emailed him and he had stuff to sell.
From a manufacturing standpoint, that screwback on the top one, is that somewhat Soviet reminiscent of their decorations? I feel like I've seen that, or maybe it was Polish that has used something similar on that disc.
There's a lot of the Eastern European countries for sure.
Okay, they did use that though. That kind of looked like a trait. So I mean,
I was going to say, yeah, that does look. Now you mention it, that looks familiar on the disc,
and obviously the standard party badge, pin assembly on the bottom there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, although they had these what you would consider a membership badge, they didn't have membership. So you could be a member, you could buy these badges to show support, but they did not have like a unified structure.
That photo on the bottom left, you got the Soviet Union flag there, the communist flag with the Antifa logo in the middle. But so as much as they're correlated, you did not have to be a member of the Communist Party to be in it. The Antifa.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And there actually was SPD. This is a picture from the first meeting of the organization. There is actually SPD members down in here that took part in it as well. They were invited because it was supposed to be seen as a large socialist movement. Here are a couple of membership badges. This one we've already seen. This is from a period NSDAP newsreel that you can see one in wear, which is constructed quite similar to this one. A little bit different with the hammer itself, but nonetheless, this sort of pebbling.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the enamel work on these badges is beautiful.
Yeah, these two are the blue. I just love them, especially this one. So touch on these organizations real quick. RH is Rote Hilfe, which was the legal organization that,
Red Helpers.
Yes, the Red Helpers. If you were a communist, you got arrested, they would represent you in court. So these are,
That's neat.
and this is their second pattern badge. I don't remember what year they started using this one, but the earlier one had no enamel work on it, so they look a little weird. But
you don't have a first pattern?
I do not. My friend has a couple of them.
I think less of you, honestly.
I'm sorry, I don't have everything.
Well, thanks to
this is super impressive. I'm busting your balls. That's really
thanks to Connor and this podcast. The prices of these have just gone through the roof. So
yeah, seriously.
If you can find them,
everyone's going to be looking for these now.
Yeah, and then these are the youth KJI ones. This one had either gold or silver gilding on the back of it, but it's worn at time. But that's what a minty one would look like. So, and then these are the front membership badges, which we're about to touch on. Those are the Antifa ones we looked at, and then RGO was the union that they founded in 1929 or 1930. It actually was smaller than the NSBO, which was the initial union founded by the NSDAP. They're both founded around the same time, but the RGO I think had about 130,000 members, where I think is the NSBO before Hitler came to power had, I think, in excess of 230,000, 250,000 in that range. So they struggled to get people over into their union. But both of these badges are super rare. I actually got that one at the shows a couple of years ago. So now we're on to the Roterfront Kampfverbund. We're actually going to touch on them. So this is a neat group photo that I pulled off the internet. You can kind of see the difference in the uniforms. I mean, this guy's wearing a bow tie. The predecessor to the organization was the Proletarian Hundreds, which were banned in 1923. Going back to what we talked about, the Ruhr Rebellion and the Hamburg Uprising of 1923, they were active in it. So the federal Weimar government stepped in and said, no more of that. We're not going to have this organization around. The communists sort of met and tried to work out a different organization. That's where they came up with the Roterfront Kampfverbund, which was formed during the 9th National Conference of the KPD in April 1924 to protect party gatherings, kind of like what the purpose of the SA was. The organization was called the Roterfront Kampfverbund with the intent of attracting non-communist members. That was the whole idea of them forming this, as well as they wanted to get people that weren't actively in the Communist Party to go into an adjacent organization that they then could prey upon to join the party.
Convert.
Convert, yes. So the KPD formally announced the formation of the RFB to all the party local branches after police killed 8 workers in Halle on the 11th of May, 1924. The inaugural nationwide meeting was held in February 1925 in Berlin, where Ernst Thälmann was elected to lead the federal committee. And again, we talked about him earlier. Here he is again. This is from 1924. Here he is shaking hands with a member of the Communist Party from the Soviet Union and from China.
Interesting.
So he's stating here that, we are a unified front. And here he is in a very early version of the Rotfront uniform. This is from the middle of 1924 in Hamburg at the time.
Wow, I wasn't even thinking that was a Chinese guy. Holy shit.
Yeah, you got the Chinese members, a Chinese member here wearing more along the lines of what is a Rotfront uniform, as we'll see in a couple of upcoming photos. In its first month, the RFB reported membership of 40,450 members in 558 local groups. The communists were known to exaggerate numbers. The idea that they had this many in the first month, I honestly think could be debatable. I think as we move into February of 1926, membership have grown to 68,392 and 1,120 local groups. I think that's more realistic. I don't know out of the gates that they had 40,000 members, honestly. But that's what their records say. So, and period newspapers.
One wonders what they started their membership numbers at, because we know with the NSDAP, we started at 500.
So the neat thing here too is early on, 55% of members were non-KPD members. So either they were a member of another party or non-party affiliated, which is kind of meeting what they wanted in their desire of this organization. So all of the organizations and its groups were led by KPD members. Most Rotfront members were not party members. A portion were even associated with the SPD, who became a massive rival to the KPD during this time. Because there was a large faction of SPD people who were kind of radical, And although they believed maybe the party line, they wanted to get into rougher street situations, with the right-wing factions. So by 1929, the organization had grown to have close to 130,000 members, and only 30% of those were KPD members. So you can see by this time they were building a lot of traction, getting into a lot of different areas. And there was a lot of future SA members that were members of the Road Front too. So
interesting.
The organization didn't just work as a simple paramilitary organization that protected party gatherings, but also as a veterans organization. A large portion of the RFP were veterans of the First World War, and some had been actively involved in the November Revolution of 1918. So quickly, we'll just kind of run through the RFP's structure. Bottom to top organization, local groups elected the regional leadership, and the regional leaders elected the federal committee. You had the Bundesführung, which is the federal committee, then Gau, then Orts, then Abteilung, and so on, all the way down to Gruppas, which, unlike what we normally think of Gruppas, like with SA, they were a lot smaller. They consisted of 8 men plus a Gruppenführer, which didn't have as much say as you would say with the SA. Like an SA Gruppenführer is a big deal. But in this sense, it's more like being a Scharführer. It's a very low level rank. But still really, really neat that they use similar terminology.
Have you ever come across one of these banners in your time collecting this stuff?
Not one for sale now. Now
I have to assume that's a pretty valuable piece.
Yes, my friend luckily enough owns one, but I don't even know how many are in private collections. So most are in museums.
What about the pole topper on that? Is that kind of like a generic pole topper they used on different flags, or is that like a really specific?
There was a couple variations in the pole topper, which I'll be able to show you. This is more the common one. It's a clenched fist, and I believe a hammer and sickle. Going off of memory, we'll see in a little bit about that. But they had several really cool flags. Way more design went into these and time and effort than NSDAP ones, which were normally generic, and then they just put a patch on them. Like these are, once we get to look at a couple more of them, they're super neat, beautiful pieces. So here we have the actual gals that they had for the RFB, which, it's similar to the SA. Once again, they kind of all follow a similar structure. A couple of interesting ones which struggled to form. They were banned, unbanned, banned, unbanned, unbanned, like over and over again, were the Bavarian two. Because the Bavarian government obviously was considered center right to right wing. So any excuse that they had to ban any organizations to do with the KPD, they did. They were very hostile politically to the party as well. They threatened to ban them for considering what the rest of Germany was, how they were treating the party, petty things. Obviously they still around causing problems, but the Bavarian wings definitely had a lot of issues. The rest of Germany kind of did all right, but overall, those were the two ones that struggled. But this is another really nice photo of a group that was at the 1926 Reichstreffen, or party meeting, or not party, organization meeting. So activities, they provided
Nazis. Sorry.
Yeah. They provided security at KPD meetings and workers' union gatherings. Our RFB men often would agitate and engage in acts of violence against the police and political rivals who try to disrupt meetings. As you can see here, they got into quite often. Which neat point here, you could see that he got his standard snatched away by a police officer, and it looks like the pole might have been broken in half. Another one there is trying to help his buddy out, but he's not going to do much. But yeah, and that a neat little piece there. Over time, its rivalry with opposing organizations such as the SA and Stahlhelm-Bund and Reichsbanner grew, and violence intensified. Violent clashes with the SA were regular toward the end of the organization's existence, as the SA was known to provoke and antagonize the RFB. Especially as the SA grew, they saw propaganda in going after the communists. So for them, it was easy to go out and, go into red districts and just start causing crap. And also, another point with these guys is these instruments. I think they're called shalmans, or I forget what exactly the term is. These trumpets. If you've ever heard period recordings of them, they sound horrible.
They didn't even have good music. Can't draw a crowd with shitty music, you know?
So they would go through these neighborhoods, and the communist ones would be all right with it. But the upper and middle class ones were, from period writings, if you read stuff like that, they would just nonstop complain because I agree, these horns, they don't sound good. Yes, Billy.
Does anyone remember the bagpipes at the Mac show? Which is like, it's a little much right now. Like, I'm trying to do business here, and it's just a bagpipe guy playing the same thing, and over and over again.
Fuck that guy. I don't even give a shit. He sucks.
No, I'm teasing. I had to. It's just a little much.
I know he's dead and gone, and his heart was in the right place, but
I'm teasing. All right, I'm sorry I said anything about your friend Dante. I didn't.
No, I said fuck that guy. How is he my friend?
Yeah, I was gonna say. Oh my God. The RFB at this time also fought to stop landlords from evicting low-income earning tenants. So they did some social welfare stuff. They may have roughed up the landlord a little bit, but all in the end, it's all right.
Who among us hasn't wanted to rough up a landlord in their life?
Exactly. The organization often took part in anti-war protests and anti-militarist referendums, such as the Reichstag vote to fund pocket battleships in the 1920s. There actually is a cool photo out there of they took like a wagon and they put like what looked like a battle cruiser and put it on there, and they marched around basically saying like, oh, we don't want these. As the organization continued to grow, or continue to get more violent with its rivals, the organization came under increasing scrutiny. As we talked about, they had constant street battles with the SA, whether who antagonized who, it didn't matter. They were causing mayhem on a nightly basis in certain cities. The final straw came as we're going back. Everything kind of revolves around this. Blutmai, 1929, when the RFB, in open defiance of a ban on gatherings for May Day, participated in the workers' event in Berlin where some 30 people were shot and killed by the Berlin police. The Interior Minister of Prussia, Albert Grzinski, finally had his motive to ban the RFB and even threatened action against the KPD at this time too, because they sort of saw it as an excuse. Why not just solve this political problem all in one fell swoop? Get rid of the RFB and also go after the KPD and try and ban them. They eventually, I do believe, banned the newspaper of the party, but they actually didn't take any actions against the KPD. So, but the interesting thing is, because Germany and Weimar Germany was a federal system, they were banned in Prussia first, and then from Prussia, Grzinski went around to the other interior ministers, had a meeting with them, and said, "All right, you got to ban them from your states as well." So within a week, they were banned in every other state, which meant that the organization ceased to exist to an extent. They existed underground instead. A successor organization was set up, the Kampfbund gegen den Faschismus, but it didn't have the same draw as the RFB once had. Its membership was about 120,000, so it wasn't even up to the 130,000 the Rote Front had. And there was a lot of mystique and propaganda value that they had put into the Rote Front. The symbolism and everything that went into it. Their uniforms were distinct, as we'll see. I mean, here's some members here. They had lost so much that they had invested into this organization, and then they'd set up the successor organization, and it was founded in 1930. But at this time, everyone had sort of been sitting on their hands waiting for something to happen, because it took them, I think it was 6 months to form something new. And by that time, you had a lot of people that just went to the SA instead. Because they saw a political sort of divergence in a way between the two organizations. They were working towards similar things in their mind, especially under Rome.
So big takeaways again. Leftists have always been broke, and they've always been unable to organize effectively.
Pretty standard.
Yeah.
Some shit just don't change.
So now we're done with the history. All right. We're going to look at some cool shit. So we're going to look at some artifacts of the front. These are some of my items that we'll see in a little more detail in a second here. So, why don't we talk about the guys that actually went around and started, getting some quote unquote war trophies at the time. So you had here in Hamburg, which again, like Billy said, we keep going back to Hamburg. Like it's just a never ending thing.
Capture the flag, buddy.
This is them holding a rote front banner from Hamburg, which the Hamburg rote front was very distinctive because that is mainly where the Roter Marine was, which I'll put a photo here.
Nice.
Josh
I like what you did there. Yeah.
So
I'll put you on the payroll, buddy.
Yeah. I watch enough of the pods. I know what to do. They had their own distinctive uniforms. They essentially were the rote front's version of, let's say, the early Stoßtrupp Adolf Hitler. They were considered the bodyguards. They wore a version of the rote front uniform that looked like a Navy sailor's uniform. So they had the cap tally, or the cap with the tallies going down it. And then here you can see two mannequins that they took and put. These are not, I don't believe, rote front shirts, but they just stuck all sorts of KPD badges and rote front badges all up and down it.
And some brass knuckles?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Good eye.
But you can see on these mannequins, they took, I don't believe these to be rote front shirts, but they took these shirts and they just stuck all sorts of tinnies and pins from the rote front, the KPD, and all sorts of other communist-related organizations. This would have been, we talk about hate belts often.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine owning this. This would be super cool if obviously it didn't survive, but
I was just thinking that, man. And also I was wondering to myself, how many people have tried to recreate something like this and sell it as original by just finding a bunch of pins and putting them on a period shirt and being like, see, it's this.
That's a true point. And I always wondered that kind of with a bunch of things. Unfortunately, maybe someone might have dressed something up, but yeah, it's so neat to actually just see this. I actually stumbled across this preparing for this podcast. I hadn't seen this before. So this is a kind of a neat recent thing that I found. So these are two membership badges in my collection. Both are in fantastic condition. This one here, interestingly enough, has initials scratched in the back of it. I don't know if it was scratched in at the time or maybe later on when presumably, because apparently these came out of a collection in Florida. The guy apparently was very fascinated, let's say, with East Germany and the early communist days. So he would travel over apparently in the 70s. Like he went to every May Day celebration in the 1970s. He was a former U.S. corporal, Army corporal or something like that, from what I gathered. And he went over there and bought all sorts of stuff. He would meet former rote front members because they were still doing gatherings in the DDR. They would get together. They would do these little marches and stuff. But I don't know if maybe that when he bought it, he bought it from a original guy. At that time, he's like, yeah, before, or he's like, can you scratch your initials in it? Maybe he did it then, or maybe at the time the guy did. Either way, initials are scratched in the back of it. And here it is.
Question about these for you. I see the sunray enamel work, usually something that we would see on a Nazi Party membership badge, indicating that it was made in Austria. Were these, do you have any idea if that holds true with these as well? Were they produced in Austria or was this just the style that they had produced everywhere?
This is the style they had produced everywhere on there. This is the standard pattern. There was actually an Austrian group of the Roterfront Kampfverbund, but they did not survive long. They were banned pretty quickly or fled across the border into Germany, because you'd see them at the Reich Party meetings, like in the period footage that I found. You can actually see a delegation from Austria. But this is the early membership pattern of the badge. This is presumably made by Georg Winkler out of Fürth. They were known for this setup on their badge, and they produced a lot of early badges. Most of the early badges you'll see are in this style with this catch.
What is the value of something like this?
I'll tell you this. Good luck finding another stick pin. These the stick pins were not technically considered regulation. So they would have been more than likely not either, private purchase ordered for wearing on civilian clothing. Anyways, the early pattern badges, I've seen them go for anywhere between 150 and 250 euros.
Wow.
I saw one stick pin, similar condition as mine. I didn't pay as much as this, but I did see it go at auction for 490 euros.
150 euros seems extremely reasonable because that's a very rare thing.
It is. And the neat detail is, just by luck, the fingernail on the thumb got extra hot enamel in there. So it's almost like a really deep crimson red. So it kind of makes it pop on the thumb right there.
Let's just talk about that. Like that's the true collector that appreciates that little subtle, like to a normal guy, it's just like, oh, okay, cool. But then there's that collector. It's like, look at that detail, and it's like, yeah, that's
right.
Just, we all have that in us of like, oh, that's a really cool thing, and it's like, now that you point that out, it's like, oh, that is really badass.
So these are the second pattern badge. The only difference, well, there's a couple differences, and these are all going to be pretty much uniform. Is if we go back, the only thing that's added is this EV, which you'll see this on a lot of random membership badges, which this just means they're a federally recognized organization. So, but if you look at these, they're all basically the same, or they look very similar. And that is because the communists were known, on the first membership badges, they tried to keep it to one producer. They wanted one producer mainly to make these badges, but it just didn't work. And because they weren't protected, in a federally recognized organization, they couldn't do too much with copyright enforcement. So once they got recognized, they did a contract, which you can see here, for the Bundesebzecken of the Rote Front with Hermann Aurich. And it says here basically that it's protected by law. Yes, in Dresden. And it's protected by law that they were supposed to be the only sole producer of the badge. But these are two pinback ones, and then these are two screwback ones, which are super rare. I have yet to see another one of these come up. This one was bought from a historian that wrote several books on the Rote Front. I just happened to email the guy when he was selling something, because he wouldn't put postage to the US because he didn't know how to do it, because he's 85 years old. And we spoke further, and he said, well, what's your email? And I said, okay, here. And then he just sent me a bunch of stuff and started offering things for me to buy, because he's like, I can't believe an American is interested in this.
It's a really interesting screwback device, too. I don't think I've ever seen a spinner like that. But it also looks like it would be incredibly easy to apply, because it looks like it bends up so you can grab it.
Yeah.
Fucking Germans, man. They're always thinking.
Now we go from membership badges to another small thing, which is tinnies. And these pop up from time to time. These two I own. This one came from a historian whose name is Christian Hermann. I forgot to mention him before. He published this in his book, and you can tell by its distinctive crack in the enamel that this is the one that I own. So I put them side by side with the book I have from him, and you can see it in wear here. The person that colorized it made it silver, which I think there are silver examples, which maybe you paid a little extra for the silver ones. I might be mistaken though, but I believe there were silver ones made. And then here's another one that I have. And then here's a program for the rally that my friend Giannis owns once again.
Cool to see like a tinny basically with a little enamel on it. That's very cool.
Yes, I was going to say, right. That's a great point. I completely forgot to mention the coolest part about this tinny is that it's enameled. Some are painted, but a majority of them have enamel. Most of the time they're just cracked and chipped away. My friend said because it was mailed to him in Germany. When I bought it, he's like, wow, this is probably the nicest enamel one I've seen, because it's normally like even this one has a crack in it.
Well, of course, the tin itself is so thin, and the flex of the enamel it just naturally material.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the same reason why when you see those handwork tinnies, they're always in kind of like shabby condition, right?
Oh, for sure.
Here's two quick photos of the rally. You got some guys driving on their rented trucks to the event. with their flags out and everything. All the guys in the back in a little wagon trailer. And then here's some
I've
members.
seen that, almost same vehicle with swastikas all over it.
Yes.
It's just a truck of the 1920s. It's just cool how they both used it.
Yeah, it is. And you will see these same trailer wagons in the back with SA members. Now, this is 1927 and 28. So here's a little booth where they were selling like little knickknacks and stuff for the 1928 event. And then here's some members marching with some of their period posters and and whatnot. And then here's a 27 tinny. This is one I own. They sometimes come in a little better condition with this sort of like a brass, kind of a fire gilt, but not. And then this is the 1928 tinny for the Fourth Reichstreffen. And you can see a guy wearing one right here, a trumpeter, with those
cool,
those awful horns we were talking about earlier.
Martin
Shorns.
Yeah,
Yes. And then here's an issue of the Roter Stern talking about the 1928 rally. The next item that we have is rather unique. This is a little piece of film that I put together based upon the 1927 and 28 rallies. And I merged some unique footage together, overlaid it with an original recording of a song called Roter Raketenmarsch, which is Red Rocket March. So anyways, I'll let
come on, buddy.
Yeah. I'll let it do its own talking.
Dude, that was really cool. Thank you for putting that together for us. And I'm going to tell you right now, like, honestly, maybe it's because I'm not in the right tax bracket, but I did not find the horns quite as offensive as they were made out to be.
I could have put a more annoying one in there. Like, I could have put one that would have, I could have made one that was pretty annoying for all of us to sit there and listen to. But, that's a decent song, I think,
That wasn't just the Martin Shorn. There was different stuff.
We'll bring you back for an episode that focuses only on offensive horns.
All right. That works. Yeah.
What do you got next for us, buddy?
All right. So real quick, the 1929 Reichstreffen, which was held in Hamburg. The first time it was not held in Berlin. All the other ones were held in Berlin before this. This one, though, technically wasn't a rote front Reichstreffen in the sense, even though it has RFB on there, they had planned for it. However, it took place after they were banned. So they had to rebrand in a way to still have the event go on, but it turned more into a KPD event than it was RFB. So if I remember from what I read correctly, though, there were still members there in their RFB uniforms defying the ban, which that's also another point. There was periods where people would go out and defy the ban and wear the uniform. So this is probably the rarest tinny that it is. Overall, it's probably one of the rarest tinnies that I own. It's for the 1926 Dresden Rotortag, super killer design on this tinny with the flags. There was about 2,500 people that attended it. The reason why the flag's on there is because Dresden was given their own standard at this time in July of 1926.
Welcome to the club, Dresden.
Right. Even my buddy, Giannis, when I first got this, he was like trying everything he could to trade with me on it because he hadn't seen one of these in 5 years. So that shows you kind of how rare this one is. Super neat. That one's also published. That came from the historian Christian Hermann as well. So, and then here's the 1927 Mitteldeutsches Treffen in Magdeburg. It's painted on red flag in the background. Kind of a funky looking dude on the tinny.
It looks a little like Vern Troyer, if I'm going to be honest.
It does look like Vern Troyer. That's hilarious.
That's a neat little one. 1928 Middle German red Treffen in Leipzig. And then here's actually pictures from the event confirmed. And then that's the tinny itself. These come in they kind of come like a copper wash. They're really nice tinny. And these pop up from time to time on German markets and things like that. There was about 25,000 attendees at this one. So that's why you see it every now and then. And going back real quick, these Treffen ones, these are the ones you see the most. They tend to be under 100 euros usually. Sometimes they can go up and above, depending. But usually they kind of hover around 100 to 120 euro. Now we're going to go on to, we talked about Kyle Kellner earlier. The Armbinde der RFB. So this image is one that I bought. It's currently in Germany. My friend's sending it to me soon, hopefully. But it's nice with the trumpeter on there. Normally they wore their armbands around their forearm, not their bicep, like in the SA. So, but here are some chain stitch examples.
Oh yeah, chain stitch. That's cool.
This one's super rare. Probably was made for a higher leader in the organization.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
it resembles the membership badge in many ways. But then, yeah, these are two chain stitch ones. My friend Giannis owns this one. I pulled this one off a WAF. Then here's a couple other ones in chain stitch. This is the other one that he owns.
Look how faded that one is. That's cool.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see how, you can tell this was DIY.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, we talk about SA and NSDAP membership or NSDAP bands that are mass produced. Like, look at these. These were just thrown in, well, to an extent mass produced. I should say that they were just ad hocing, just get a sewing machine and just stitch over. And
I agree with that, but there are also early bands pre-RZM that are super unique and fugly in a sense.
That is
the one top right. I mean that's hilarious looking in a way.
Yeah, it looks stupid. I will.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah,
it's not like it's curled back. It's like it's out. I mean, yeah.
Or the guy got his fingers chopped off by the sickle. I get it now. between the bruised thumbnail from the hammer and then the chopped off fingers from the sickle, I get it.
These are all retained by the DDR Museum in their archive. Super neat pieces. Here's we talked about earlier, Kampfbund gegen den Faschismus. This is an armband for them.
And that is original. That is, I mean, to me, like if I was going to see that at a flea market, I would think that would be fake. That was the one we're exactly looking at right now.
Yes,
that is an original, though.
From what the curators of the museum say, yes.
Okay.
I don't, because this organization didn't have that much lore behind it. As far as I know, they wouldn't have made reproductions in the.
No, and that's a good point. It just looks so simple and printed and not used. It just looks like a basic trick with the printing. That's all. Just me being stupid. Don't worry about it.
No. I agree with you, but I guess I'm just explaining further because these armbands have been like we were talking about earlier. They were doing events in the 50s, 60s, and 70s for the road front. So there's reproductions of these armbands. They're normally always printed though. I own an early DDR example from the early 50s is my assumption. That is a printed example, but it usually kind of looks like this one with the chain stitch on the outside and the stitching that's gone through. It might even be kind of like a Vivo stitch. I don't know for certain on that field that's in there, or maybe something similar. But it looks like that, but it's just printed. So those are the common ones that you see. So you got to keep an eye out for reproduction armbands because and I wouldn't say per se reproduction, but they were making them after the war for their own purposes. Yeah. Anyways, now we're going to go on to headgear of the RFB. So these are pulled from my friend Christian Hermann's book, which he published these through the old East German main publishing company. But these were caps that are also held in that same museum's archives now. None of them are on display, I think, besides maybe one. The interesting thing about these is that some of them have cockades. Well, okay, this one has a cockade on it. Wasn't regulation. They sometimes would put them on there, but in 1926 they were ordered to remove them because they weren't supposed. The only thing they were supposed to have on the hat is a chin strap of some sort and the federal Bundesabzeichen. That was supposed to be on there. Otherwise, they were not supposed to have anything else on them. So you can see a couple of nice examples. And these are attributed to people, by the way. That's what this second line is for. Willi Hamann, Ortsgruppe Bernstadt, Alfred Thomas, Rudolf Donath. A couple of my tinnies actually are from this, attributed to this guy that I bought.
Oh, really?
Man. That's crazy.
So, because in the book, he shows the tinny and he does the same thing. He does who it's attributed to, who they came from. Mm-hmm.
Did these people survive the war?
Yes, I believe so. I know that this Rudolf Donath guy, I definitely believe did, because the amount of stuff that's in this book that is from this one man is insane. The majority of the photos are from him. There's a complete uniform from the guy, multiple hats from the guy. I think there's.
Or did he not survive and they just found his fucking footlocker basically of all of his stuff in an attic or something?
Possibly.
I don't know. I'm just speculating, but
I tend to believe I'd have to email him to verify.
It's just crazy that if the Nazi, you would think they would just kill these people. I mean, that's immediately where I would go. They would just fucking wipe them off the face of the earth. I mean, it
does seem like their MO.
Yeah, but they let these guys live. That's fucking nuts. That's nuts.
Here is an original one my friend Giannis owns. You can see here now. This is one of two major producers. This was the major producer, Gabagos. They mainly were contracted to produce the uniforms in this, what they call as a gray-blue color. So the uniform would have also been this in the Berliner style, so the Berlin style. And then there's their address on there. Super rare visor. Extremely rare. But this is the one that my friend owns. Super neat. And this is some of his collection as well. These are two of his other visors that he has. I guess three, because I didn't show that one.
Look at the pennant on the bright. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
How old is that? That is from the 30s or 20s?
It is. It's a bicycle pennant. And it's just painted on there. He has two of them.
Yeah, it's painted. I see it. Yeah.
He has two of them, and I don't have anything good enough quite yet to try and get the other one, but I'm working on something. Obviously, the picture isn't close enough, so that's I got to work on something with him. But yeah, he has. I mean, they're beautiful pieces, and then he has a chain stitch KJI, which is the youth pennant.
International, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Dante, we finally are at them, the buckles. Woo-hoo! So here are three different buckle patterns that are known. The ones I'm seeing reproductions of is this one a lot, with this swirly outside on it. And this one I've seen a couple of too. I think they're coming out of Poland like everything is nowadays. So these are super, super rare. I don't really know the market on it because I haven't been able to buy one yet. I mean,
I've never even seen these things, dude, and I've hunted a lot of shit. I mean, I
right.
don't know. Kyle and I've worked a lot together. Maybe he saw them and fucking just didn't tell me, hey, look at this. I mean, I don't know. I've never seen any of these.
So now we're going to take a look at some shirts for the RFB. Very distinctive collars on these. Nothing like you'd see with the SA. So two different
1970s stuff.
Pattern. Yes. Two different patterns that you'd expect. So Berlin had these buttons on them primarily, and they were in the gray blue. And then you had the Dresden pattern. So these were made by Gabagos. These were made by Vespa, which was another group that was in Dresden. So that's where, also as well, these weren't the only two colors like the SA. There was color variations, especially early on. But yeah, a lot of Dresden pattern ones will have these drawstring on the breast here to sort of bring it up. And then you'll see a lot of on the Berlins, the buttons going up them. Same with this one with just a weird patch on the side here. But again, these are all attributed to a former member of the Rote Front, which is really neat to see.
It's very cool. And, the ties instead of buttons.
Yeah, that is cool.
Mm-hmm.
It feels very proletarian.
Yes. And that's the interesting thing too. Early on, they did not want to have uniforms, like a uniform set of regulations, but they quickly found out over time they had to. So by 1925, they had started coming out with regulations, especially in 26. But here are some more Dresden patterns. This one doesn't have the strings again named. This one is not known who the provenance. And then here are the pants that they would have wore, which are very rare.
Them breeches, man.
Yes. There was only 2 pairs in the whole book. So that shows you how pretty rare the pants
are. They're not very flared like the SI uniform is.
No, they're not.
Oh,
they're
it's the
just
worker,
a little,
it's a little more modest.
Yeah, no, I no. When you're right, Josh. I mean, it's not like they're obnoxious collar. You would have thought they would be parachute pants with that collar.
And you can see them in wear here. But we're going to talk about the pull toppers real quick, a couple different ones. And then here's actually the holder down here, which is neat.
That gold one is absolutely beautiful, man.
Yeah, that's badass. Dude.
Yeah, it is. It's the 3-dimensional aspect of the fist is way cooler than the other ones.
Mm-hmm. This one's actually retained in a museum in Germany. I can't remember which one, but that's a neat one that they own. This is my friend's that he has. And then here's a couple from, again, Christian Hermann's book. This one having its fire gilt on it is really neat still. This one's the early one with a really crude fist. And then same with this one. I don't really never seen another one of those.
That looks homemade.
This is the Jungfront here. This is one of theirs. These are pretty rare. I don't remember the last time I've seen one come up. Not as rare as a cap or a shirt, in my opinion. We'll take a look at some standards now. Not the best photos because, like I said, this book is from 1980. But Christian Hermann did still a great job with these. You can see this one's just chain stitched on their rope front. Chain stitch fist. This one's really neat with the bands around it. Ortsgruppe Zwickau, 1926. This one's from 1925.
And it's so interesting to see all the variation in everything that this group had.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, so many things. Like, that's why I said earlier, the standards are super freaking cool. They're not all the same dimensions. They're all unique in their designs. And the reason why these survived, that we're going to see these and a couple more examples, is because they were taken, the ones that could be taken, were taken to the Soviet Union, held there until after the war, and then were brought back to East Germany by the Soviets as a sort of a...
Wait. So you're saying prior to 1933, these went to the Soviet Union and then they came back in 46?
Give or take, yes.
No shit. Well, that's a really cool, feat.
There may have been one that was hidden away during the Third Reich.
Sure, yeah. Put in a closet.
Yeah, but the majority of them were sent to the Soviet Union probably right after Hitler took power out of a precautionary
out of fear.
because they would have been prized trophies of the SA.
Yeah,
So-
sure. Yeah, capture the flag. Sure.
They wanted to get them the hell out of there. That Hamburg flag, we don't know what happened to it. That's the last photo of it. Was in 33 with the SA guys. Don't know where it went after. It may have been in some sort of local SA beer hall or something as a war trophy or a whatever Kampf trophy. And then now it's just gone to history as far as we're aware. It's kind of like the Blutfahne for the NSDAP. It just disappeared after 45. Here are two more standards. Really cool. This one with the double-sided with the rising sun. For freedom and rec should be right, but anyways. This is for Ortsgruppe Heidenau and then Ortsgruppe Ronsdorf. Really neat, this one.
Yeah, that is cool. I wonder if that's painted as well.
This flag.
Wow. Look at that.
This flag is owned by my friend Giannis.
Yeah.
This is one of, again, his prized possessions. One of only maybe 2 or 3 that's in a private collection that isn't held in the East German Museum, the former East German Museum. Super rare, beautiful piece. Here's some close-ups of it. Sadly, the reverse side, he didn't get me a picture of it. I had to get one from our
Look at
old
the stitching for the shadowing.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
That's cool.
This is a killer
That's
piece.
cool. That's awesome. That's really cool. It's like that one finial that we looked at that was more 3-dimensional. That was just really cool looking.
Yeah.
That's sharp, dude. That's a sharp fucking flag. That's awesome.
Now, this is a little fun thing. This is random history for you guys. The road front existed in America.
I was unaware.
I shit you not.
Well, you had the boon too. So I mean, yeah, no, I can see it.
Right. And the Depression was hitting America so hard. Communism, although politically didn't get the votes, was, however, making waves during the Depression. So this is something my friend Giannis actually turned me on to. He's like, "Oh, you should look into this stuff too." There's no information on it, sadly. I'd have to probably go dig in archives in New York and Philadelphia and Chicago, where they were located out of. However, they closed down their branches within a year. They were not that successful at getting members.
Not to mention not to mention you wouldn't want to have this surviving, during the Cold War.
Right, and this is the only membership badge that I've ever seen for it.
Yeah.
Super cool. It's a little like the wrist is a little tighter on it. They formed around May 1933. I don't think it'd be made in Germany. Could even be a U.S. producer that used a similar style die. So Road Front New York, there's a guy with the drum. You can see them in here. There's actually an African-American man right here. And yeah, they even had their own little newspaper or little leaflets that they would do monthly.
Imported Martinshorns. Look at that.
Yes. Yes.
Only the best. Only the best.
We got to send those guys a care package to get started. Yeah. It includes a dozen Martinshorns.
There's one on the bottom right there. That guy's definitely played a Martinshorn. I've learned so much about these instruments.
I can just picture Billy's great grandfather in Chicago back in the day being like, "What the fuck are these horns outside right now?"
He would have been speaking Italian, but yeah.
He said, "Mamma mia."
Yeah, Mamma mia. This is noise.
So this is the end of it. I just wanted to throw that in there as a little tidbit at the end. That is
very cool.
The whole presentation on the road front and the KPD and other organizations.
Dude, that was awesome. Thank you so much for all your hard work. I feel like this has far surpassed any of the research that I've done for the show thus far. So really, thank you so much for taking the time to go through all of that for us.
For you to put all this together is just phenomenal. I didn't know these groups existed, and now I have a much more complete picture of the whole situation back there in the 1920s, man. So it's cool. Thank you.
So you collect Third Reich as well.
Correct.
Which is mind-blowing because for me, people are always like, "Oh, so you just do all military items?" And it's like, no, I try to do, Nazi Germany, 1923, 1945. That's my window, because how much stuff can you possibly own? So the fact that you also collect other things on top of this is just mind-blowing. Dude, talk about a dedicated collector, and truly, history is obviously a passion for you, dude. It was an awesome presentation, man.
Yeah, seriously, thank you guys as well for the time. Definitely very proud of my family history. Like I said, that's basically what dragged me into this hobby. Before that, I I had loved all aspects of it. But mainly, like, I was a World War One guy because I knew my great grandfather served in the First World War for Bavaria. So, like, I had interest there more so actually than World War Two. But then doing the research sort of got me onto this wing. So it's hard for me to sort of stay in one spot for a long time collecting. But luckily, like, unlike some collectors where they do turnover, they collect something, they sell it, and they get in something else. I usually kind of collect, hold it, and then move to something else, which means obviously that takes me longer maybe to get in that new field because the funds aren't always immediately there. But yeah, no, and thank you guys, seriously.
Well, man, we're very happy that you hold on to all this stuff, or else we wouldn't have been able to learn from it today.
Exactly.
And with that, guys, we are going to wrap up this episode of the Militaria Podcast. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for learning with us. Thank you again, Connor, for all your hard work. We'll have to have you back on, maybe for Offensive Horns episode or something else that relates here. But yeah, this has been a great time. And on that note, again, my name is Joshua Doda. I run Queen City Militaria, and I've been joined by friend of the show, Connor Palmer, expert on German communist organizations of the 20s, Connor Palmer, and my friend, Dante Gambino of SMG War Relics.
Thank you very much, guys.
And my other good pal, William the Bill Kramer of WehrmachtMilitaria.com.
You know, usually I say goodnight, everybody, but I don't know what time you're listening to the podcast or watching it. So just goodbye for now.
Have a pleasant existence, guys. We'll see you next time.